Hi and welcome into snookersystem.com's YouTube channel, the place where you come for great hints and tips for how to play the game of snooker better. Now, in this video, we're going to be looking at straight pots. When we're coaching players, very often I'll ask them, are there any shots on the table that you don't really like? And often I get the answer, yeah, I don't really like straight pots. And you kind of think, well, okay, why not? There's no angle to assess. So actually a straight pot, in theory, is the easiest pot on the table. Well, of course, it's because there's no angle to assess that players don't like them if there's something wrong in their technique. Because if they miss the ball, it's not an aiming issue, it's more about something that's gone wrong within their cue action. So I'd like to just talk about some of those key areas that can go wrong when we're playing snooker, and they show up on straight pots. Now at snookersystem.com, we take you through all of the techniques you need to avoid these errors happening in your game. So we'll see you over at snookersystem.com, where you can subscribe and see all of those core videos and routines to help you play the game better. Now, the first problem that we can have with a straight pot is that the cue isn't on the correct line of aim. To play this game, we need to be able to see the line of aim, put the cue on the line of aim, and then deliver it straight down that line of aim. Now, if we haven't got that right, what happens is we will miss the pot because we'll send the cue ball to either side of the center of the object ball. So if I walk in and I don't step far enough across, what's going to happen is my cue is going to be pointing off to the left, even though I'm looking at the right point of contact. And when I play the shot, I'm going to miss to the right. Now, that can also happen if I step too far across to the left when I'm playing the shot. So if I get into my standing position, but I step too far off to the left, now when I drop on, my cue is pointing to the right of the object ball, and I'm going to miss it to the left. So ensuring that our cue is on the correct line of aim is so important when we're playing any shot in snooker, and you need to be able to get your standing position correct and the walk-in correct to get that cue on the line of aim. And that is all covered over at snookersystem.com with routines to help you perfect your technique. Now, a second reason why we can miss straight pots is if we're not centering the cue ball with the tip of our cue. It's a spherical object, right? So if we strike on the right or the left of center, we're going to get what we call deflection. And we're going to push the cue ball to the opposite side that we are striking the cue ball. So if I played with a bit of unintentional right-hand side and came in and was right of center, even though I'm aiming correctly, and I play this shot, I'm going to push the cue ball to the left, meaning that I miss the shot to the right of the pocket. The same thing would happen if I played the shot with unintentional left-hand side. So making sure that the cue tip is in the middle of the cue ball, or at least down the center line, is vital to every shot that you're playing, unless, of course, you're playing with intentional side because you want to change the angle of the cue ball when it strikes a cushion. That is a more advanced technique, and again, something that we cover in detail at snookersystem.com. So, getting the cue on the line of aim, vitally important. Striking the center of the cue ball down the center line is also really important. But it's not where the story ends, because if we get that cue on the correct line and we're in the middle, does that mean we're guaranteed to pot the ball? Sadly not, because we've got something called a cue action that kind of can get in our way. And we've got to make sure that our cue action is as perfect as it can be to let the cue come back in a straight line and go through in a straight line. And there are two elements to that. first of all, we've got our bridge. Our bridge holds the tip of the cue, or the top portion of the cue, on the line of aim, and it must not move. So when we form our address position, we don't want the thumb to be moving, we don't want the bridge to be moving around, because that means that the tip is not going to stay where we have pointed it at the center of the cue ball. So you really do need to make sure that your bridge hand is firm, that it's gripping the cloth, not moving. You want the pads of the fingers to be holding the cloth, as well as the heel of the hand actually gripping hold of the cloth to make sure that it doesn't move. And you want to make sure that your thumb is pressed against the knuckle of your index finger just here. And once you've actually placed it on the table, you don't want to move it. So really be careful with that there's no movement in your bridge. Now the next thing we've got is the grip. Now the grip, I believe, is one of the most destructive, or at least potentially destructive, parts of the cue action. We've got fingers that all move around. We've got a wrist that can go backwards and forwards and can move laterally. And we need to make sure that it's holding the butt of the cue and letting it go back and forth with no side to side movement. And the fingers are key to this. We don't want to grip the cue tightly. Equally, we don't want to be holding it too loosely. It needs to be a controlled grip that lets the cue go back without raising up and down, and then go forwards through the white on the intended line of aim. To do that, we've got to just let the cue push the fingers away without taking them off the cue. And then as we go through the ball, the fingers will naturally reform on the cue. If the fingers come off the cue because we're trying not to grip it too tight, they have to come back on, and they're going to pull the butt of the cue inside the line, pushing the tip outside the line, and then we're going to miss our shot. So let's just demonstrate that. I'm going to play this with a grip that's just not functioning properly. The fingers are coming off and then they're pulling back on before I get back to the cue ball. So, striking the middle of the cue ball, correct line of aim, but fingers coming off the cue, and then they're going to pull back on. And because they pulled the butt of the cue inside the line, the tip went outside, sending the white to the right of the object ball, and therefore the object ball to the left of the target. Again, at snookersystem.com, we cover the grip in massive detail. We show you the techniques that you can employ to make sure your grip is operating in the correct way that doesn't take the cue off the line of aim. And then we have routines that you can practice to make sure that you perfect that and help you to play the game as well as you possibly can. So let's now try and put all the things correctly together and try and pot this ball. So standing square behind the line, focusing on the point of contact with the object ball, keeping our head on the line as we drop down, forming our address position, chest to the cue, chin to the cue, and when we're happy, feathering, and then look up to the object ball. Chest has my grip touching it at the end of my delivery, and that is the completion with the object ball going into the pocket, and I'm happy with that. Now, straight pots are a very good way for you to hone and test your technique. Once you're potting straight balls consistently, then you can move on and learn your potting angles. But get those straight pots right first before you can move on, because that will give you confidence that your alignment is good, that your delivery is straight, and that you are centering the cue ball. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed that video and I hope that it has been helpful to you. Please like, subscribe and hit that notification bell because we will be putting up lots of really useful tips and hints to help you play the game as well as you possibly can. And head over to snookersystem.com where we have an extensive course teaching you all aspects of the game, and join our community. We've got a lot of people over at snookersystem.com all chatting together about this game that we all love, and we want you to be there seeing all of the great features we've got upcoming in the future. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again very soon.